So, folks, we are joined by Dr. Gary Sprouse, also known as the Less Stress Doc, a seasoned doctor from Maryland with over 30 years of experience, and now he's stepping into a new role as the author of Highway to Your Happy Place, a transformative self help book on stress management. And Dr. Gary brings a fresh perspective to the table, redefining stress as a side effect of humans' incredible abilities and offering practical strategies to reduce it. And through his unique insights, he guides listeners on a journey to reclaim control of their reactions, unburden their hearts from the past, and discover their blueprint for happiness. Sounds interesting, isn't it? Get ready to navigate this road to stress free living with the Less Stress Doc. And as we prepare to delve into our conversation on the topic at hand, unlocking your happy place, a roadmap to stress free living with the Less Stress Doc. Here's an exciting twist. First, let us tickle our guest's brain. So, Gary, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few, and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. Are you ready for it?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Here comes the first word, curiosity.
Curiosity. Oh, that's a very pleasurable event. And it continues on even when you go, as you get older.
Invention.
Invention. Oh, wow. Invention, like we talk about it being the mother of necessity. And it's like invention is amazing.
Future.
Future is a world that we've created.
Okay. Book other than your book.
I just learned this. It's a really good way to get information, not a good way to put it into work, into process.
You nailed it. And next is movie.
So movies are amazing in that we've sometimes they blur the line between reality and fantasy.
Aliens.
Yeah, aliens are something that we've made up. Yeah, I'm not sure they exist.
Universe.
The universe is what the word that comes to me is connected, and that we're all connected throughout the universe.
Yeah. Leadership.
Leadership is learning how to help people go in a direction, but having them feel like they're going in direction because they want in that direction, not forcing them that way.
Next is stress.
Stress is that feeling it's a bad feeling. It's something that we don't want to feel, and we're trying to get less of it.
And the last one is success.
Success. Yeah. So success is such a multifaceted word because success can mean so many different things. And to me, it's being fulfilled. And so that you can feel like you're giving, that you have a purpose in life, and that you have gratitude for all the things you got going on.
Wow. I love it. Success is like being fulfilled. Awesome. And Dr. Gary, thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. And there is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. So stay tuned. And before I formally welcome you to the show, let me welcome the audience. So folks, you have tuned into TGV, and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, where we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through valuable discussions that add value not only to your life, but also to your career. And thank you so much for tuning in. Dr. Gary, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
Same here.
I want to really help your audience. I want to have them have less stress so they can spend all their time in their happy place.
Superb. So this is one of my favorite topics as well. And I try to relieve stress of people around me as much as I can. And I share some of the tips. And I would like to, today they are getting a chance to hear from the horse's mouth directly, right? So I'm super excited. And Dr. Gary, let's begin our conversation with your success mantra. Share with our audience the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
So having experience, right? So I'm a physician. So I know all the brain anatomy and the physiology and medications and all that stuff. So I get to bring that to the table. But over my last 20 years, I've also been reading all the stuff on how our psychology works. So I thought of myself as a holistic doctor. I'm like, wait, what? That doesn't sound right. And then I go, no, I am, because I'm dealing with the physical and the mental, and I can bring information from both sides of that equation. So I can address people's problems from both sides, which I think makes me a much better doctor.
Got it. All right. So as the Less Stress Doc and author of Highway to Your Happy Place, you offer a unique perspective on stress, viewing it as a side effect of humans' remarkable abilities So could you elaborate on this concept and how it shapes your approach to stress management?
Right. So as a physician, I'm used to writing prescriptions. So somebody come in and their blood pressure's high or they have diabetes. So I write a prescription and I go, okay, well, this medicine is very effective, but also has side effects. So you have to be careful. So we're going to do everything we can to maximize the benefits and minimize the side effects. When I turn that to our psychological world, then I realized that the majority of stresses are side effects to our skills. So we
Mhm.
have the ability to envision the future. Amazing. The side effect is then you have to worry about what's going to happen. Like we have the luxury of having choice, but then the side effect is we have to regret our choices. And
Yeah.
so my goal then is to say, how do we maximize the benefits of our skills and minimize the side effects? And that's
Mhm.
what the book's about is here's some tools to get rid of the side effects. Because when people say to me, wow, if you're worried about the future, just live for today. I'm like, I don't want to give up my skill of looking into the future. I want to get rid of the side effect of worrying about it.
Got it. And I love the statement there, like in terms of maximizing your abilities and focusing on it, and rather than focusing on the stress part. I think that is essential
Yeah,
in today's highly stressful environment, right? Also, in your book, you mention a group versus me meter in our minds, redefining self esteem beyond the individual. And how does this understanding of self esteem contribute to our overall stress levels? And what strategies do you recommend for balancing the group versus me dynamic?
right. So what I see then is when we say self-esteem, it's not really self. There's a whole bunch of not self that's involved
Yeah.
because what we're doing is measuring ourselves, our characteristics, like I work hard, or I'm a good father, or I'm a good son, or I'm really smart. But these are all labels that society has given certain weight to. So if
Hmm.
somebody's overweight, we go, oh, that's not a good thing. Or if somebody has heroin addiction, we go, that's not a good thing. So then you, as yourself, go, oh, well, society doesn't think being a heroin addict is a very good thing. That makes me feel bad about myself. But if somebody says, well, I'm a certain ethnicity and we don't think that's a good thing, you're like, wait, what? So that's when that meter comes in because there's a meter that says, I'm going to listen to what society says, or I'm
Okay.
going to listen to what I think is right. And
Hmm.
so there's a meter that goes back and forth there. And so when people get into trouble and their self esteem is low, sometimes the reason their self esteem is low is because they're taking no credit for what they're thinking versus what everybody else is thinking. And we see that in abusive situations where somebody's demeaning somebody over and over and over again, and the person starts believing them, and that's where the problem comes in. So if they shift the meter and go, no, no, my opinion is important, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring what other people say, but I'm going to make my opinion just as important.
And also, when we talk about this stress, it affects people of all ages and can manifest in physical symptoms as well, right? So, what are some common roadblocks preventing individuals from living in their happy place, and how can they identify and also overcome these obstacles?
So most people can, if I said to you, what's stressing you out? Most people will come up with this idea that I'm worried about this, or I'm regretting that, or I'm feeling guilty, or I'm feeling overwhelmed. So they identify the bad parts of it. What they don't know is what it is. So if I say to you, what's worry? They go, oh, well, I don't know. Huh, let me
Mhm.
think about that. And so they don't really have a good definition. So when I say to them, okay, worry is envisioning the future, which is an amazing skill, focusing on all the bad things that can happen, and then having a fear reaction right now, well, now that gives you a way to address the problem. So now I go, okay, instead of focusing on the bad things, let's focus on the good things. We can say we can't ignore that bad things can happen, but I can plan for them
Mhm.
without fear. I can just write them down and make plans of. So get rid of the fear part, and
Yeah.
then just you're just planning. Well, that's good. That's so. I in my book I say don't get rid of worry. What I want to do is make it efficient and effective.
Yeah. So you're talking about the countermeasure in case if something happens, how do you overcome it rather than worrying about it, right?
Yes, right. And then what I tell people to do is write it down because once you've written it down, two
Hmm.
things happen. Now, all of your brain, instead of half of it trying to remember what you're supposed to worry about, all of your brain can look and see what the problem is and try to solve it. And second is then you can take it to your friends or experts and say, hey, I've written this down. Is there anything else that you can add? And so now you get other people to contribute to fixing your problem.
And also, your book highlights the importance of taking control of our reactions to reduce the
Yes.
stress. So, what are some proven strategies you suggest for reclaiming this control and navigating stressful situations more effectively.
Okay. So a couple things. One is, first off, you have to understand where you're trying to get to. Because
Mhm.
when I say to people, if you had less stress, where would you be? They go, I don't know. I'm like, okay. So we made up this happy place that has components. And like, here's the things that go into your happy place. So let's accentuate those things. Second is, when you have all these stresses and you don't know where they're coming from, how are you going to react that? So if you have, like, one of the worst stresses is your spouse dying, but if you don't know why it's stressful, how are you going to fix that? I can't fix it. Your spouse died. I can't bring them back to life. I don't have that power, right? But when I put it into components and say, okay, the stress of your spouse dying is because you're worried, and because you have guilt, and because you have regret, and because your self esteem took a hit, and because you're overwhelmed, I can do things about that. And so
Mhm.
now, when you understand where these things are coming from, now you can go, oh, now I can get some control back, because I can go, okay, I don't need to worry about this. I can feel less overwhelmed here. I don't have to feel guilt and regret. And now I can get back more back into my happy place.
All right, that sounds good. And let's switch gears and talk about the individuals who carry burden from the past. Right? Again, this leads to feelings of guilt as well as regret. So, how can people unburden their hearts and minimize these negative emotions to foster a more positive mindset?
Okay. So the first thing, and this was something that I had to realize, was there is a big difference between guilt and regret. They're not the same thing. They get lumped together a lot because they have similarities, but they're very different. So guilt is, I did something wrong. I broke a rule. Like, if there was a rule that said don't do this and I did it, then I broke a rule. And guilt is the society's way of punishing us for breaking a rule. But what I find is, many people didn't break a rule. Like, the rule said you can do this, and they did it, and they still felt like they did something wrong. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second, back up. You didn't do anything wrong, so you don't need to feel guilty. That's one. Two
Mhm.
is, they go, the thing that you did was in the past. You can't change the past. It's done. But what guilt was meant to do was to change your behavior in the future. So if you drank too much
Yeah.
and you feel guilty, right? If you're sober and now you're not drinking, then that society and guilt did what it was supposed to do, is it got you to not drinking. So then guilt did what it was supposed to do. So you don't need to feel it as much anymore, because now you've changed your life and you're doing things differently and you're not breaking the rule anymore. So guilt can go down.
Mhm.
And the third piece is this idea of forgiveness. And that is, there's a 4-part process. Just like, you name the hurt, you tell the story, you ask for forgiveness, and then you renew or you release your relationship. And the problem that people get into is, when you're trying to forgive yourself, that's hard. That's the hardest person to forgive, is yourself. Now, if you take regret, regret is a totally different thing. So regret is, I made a bad choice.
Mhm.
That's different. I didn't break any rule. I just made a choice that I didn't like. I bought a computer system, and then my employee who knew how to run it quit. And you're like, oh, well, now my choice, which was good, now just became bad because nobody else knows how to use it. And so, like, so regret is the idea. Again, the similarity is, in the past, it happened. I already made the choice. The computer's already bought. And at that time, it was a good decision. And so what people do then is they go, well, now it's a really bad decision. And they go backwards, and they go, but you can't go backwards. Like, the decision's already made. So you have to give that up. What you can change is how you make your decisions in the future. And so you can look at and go, oh, okay, I'm going to get a different process the next time I have to buy a computer. And that way, regret did what it was supposed to. It changed how you to make your decisions. So when you do those two things, you reduce your guilt, you reduce your regret, then life can be much better. And you don't have to keep beating yourself up over and over and over again.
Got it. That is quite insightful. And we have had amazing conversations so far. And it's time for us to add some more excitement and spice to the episode. So if you're ready, I'll kick off the second rapid fire round.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, here comes the first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It'd say, live in your happy place and don't resign yourself to not living in your happy place.
And what is your favorite stress busting activity?
Well, mine's a little different, right? So mine is doing karaoke. So my wife and I will go out at night and we'll do karaoke, and I take karaoke to a whole new level. I get dressed up as a character. So I've been dressed up as Elton John singing some of his songs. So I was like, yeah. I just did the Devo song called Whip It, and I brought a whip. And my wife's like, you can't bring a whip. That's a weapon. And I'm like, no, this is okay. So it was stranded lights that how different lights that I'm singing a song with and going, right?
So if you could share any videos, I would watch them.
Well, there's a video on that I did. I think a video called "Save a Life, Wear a Face Mask." And when the pandemic first came out, Google that. Google put less dressed doc in there, and that video show up. And I'm dressed up in a wig and a cowboy hat, and I'm dancing around, going, "Save a life, wear a face mask." Right? Yeah, I like it.
Good one, good one. I'll definitely Google for it. And here comes the next bullet. Can you describe yourself in just one word?
One word. Yikes. Unique.
Okay. And one book besides your own that has greatly influenced your perspective on stress.
So Viktor Frankl's book, I don't even remember the title, but his book was about the Holocaust and how he survived the Holocaust with a purpose. And that book, what he said, the thing that was the most impactful to me was that he wasn't a Superman. Like he made it through this horrible thing, but there wasn't anything special that he did, that anybody has the power to do what he did. And that was like, okay, yeah, anybody can take charge of their life, no matter what the stresses are, if they understand what they're trying to go to.
And one word to describe your approach to stress management.
Take control. Take control.
Okay. And here comes the last bullet out of second rapid fire round. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
I would love to invent a time machine so that people could see the future and make it real. That would be nice.
Okay. Fair enough.
That would be a way to reduce worry, right? If we had a machine that we could look into the future, then we wouldn't worry about it anymore.
That's good one. And let's flip back to the mainstream. So escaping the dark hole of overwhelm is a common challenge for many. And you mentioned a unique method called involving shoeboxes. So could you delve into this strategy and how can it help individuals regain a sense of clarity and control, especially in overwhelming situations?
Yes. So what I found, so as a doctor, I had a lot of patients coming in overwhelmed. And they just were in this dark cave where they didn't see any light. They didn't have any way out. And it was just miserable. And what I would show them is like, see over there in the corner, there's a light. That's the way out. Come with me, right? So here's the answer. So what people do, and I don't know why we do this, but we do, is we lump everything together. So we go, well, I got this and this and this and right? And it gets overwhelming because there's just so much. You can't see the edges. You don't even know where to get started. And so you're overwhelmed because you've lumped all your problems together in one big giant lump. And so the answer is to compartmentalize. But the visual I give people is shoeboxes. So if you walk in a room and there was 100 shoeboxes and the bottom was here and the top was there and the left shoe was there and the right shoe was there and the piece of paper in the middle was there, and there was 100 of you, like, all right. But if you come in the room, there's 100 shoeboxes in the box, the bottom's there, the two shoes are in, the paper's in the middle, the lid's on top, and they're all neatly in a closet. Well, it's the same amount of shoeboxes, but that's not overwhelming. Because you've compartmentalized. So instead of lumping and letting everything all lump around, compartmentalize. And now you take one shoebox down, one problem at a time. I'll look at this, put it back up. Take this down, put it back up. And when you compartmentalize with your shoeboxes, then your chances of getting overwhelmed are way less likely.
Yeah, I love the metaphor. And in fact, it reminded me of one of the conversations I had with a meditation expert. What he said is, if you go to a movie theater and if 100 projectors are projecting 100 different movies, right, we will not be able to concentrate. Instead, if there is only one projector, then we will be able to concentrate. Right? Good.
Yes,
loved it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that's hard to control, right? I mean, that's when it, like, our brain just wanders around all the time. So if I said to you, don't think of an elephant, the first thing you do is think of an elephant. So it's hard to control that. Yeah.
That's the human brain. That's the monkey brain, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. There was some book I just read and they talked about it's a monkey brain who's mad, who just got stung by a bee. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. And Dr. Gary, I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and thank you so much for amazing insights. And how is your experience being hosted on my show, The Guiding Voice?
I've enjoyed it, right? Yeah, this is great. I like the rapid fire questions, right? So it's like, yeah, that's nice. I like it.
Okay. And
it's a challenge, you got to make.
Okay. And if you were to recommend someone as a must-have guest on my show, right, who would it be?
For me, so there's a lady I just met named Selena Jain, Jain. and
Uh,
she's a mindfulness coach. So she teaches mindfulness, but she has this great activity where she gets people to shake
mm,
this and then
mm.
she gets them to dance. And it's
Ah.
amazing to watch. So we're in this room with 500 people, and I'm betting some of these people never danced in the last 10 years and they're up shaking around and dancing, big smiles on their faces. So I would have her on your show.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Good one. And thank you once again for being part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. I'm looking forward to hosting you again in the future, and I wish you all the best for your
That'd be
book and
awesome.
everything.
That would be great. I'd love to come back on your show.
Perfect. So, friends, that was our episode with Dr. Gary Sprouse. Before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request for you. In case if you haven't already subscribed to TGV, the Guiding Voice podcast, please subscribe from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes, and you have a lot of stuff to learn from guests across the globe. And if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now let's cruise into the trivia segment, and today's trivia is about some less known and fun facts about stress management. Having had amazing conversation with the less stress doc, now let's get into the less known facts about stress management. And here comes the first one: is laughter. It is an excellent stress reliever, and it triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural feel good chemicals, and can help reduce stress hormones like cortisol. And second is about chewing gum can actually help lower the stress levels. Studies suggest that the repetitive motion of chewing can promote relaxation and reduce tension. And with regard to laughter, I would like to remind you of one episode which we have done with Kathy Nisbet from Canada. She's an amazing speaker and a laughter coach as well. In fact, we have featured her on our second book also, TGV Inspiring Lives Volume 2. In case if you haven't tuned into her episode, I strongly recommend you to watch that open-hearted conversation. And I repeat, the guest name is Kathy Nisbet. Okay, now going back to the trivia, here comes the last part. Spending time with pets, especially dogs and cats, has shown to reduce stress and anxiety. And petting an animal can lower blood pressure and increase levels of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding and relaxation. So these are the 3 things which I wanted to share from trivia perspective. But before you go away, tell me, what are you doing to reduce your stress, and if you have any excellent stress management tips, I would love to hear from you. So folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. We would love to hear from you, so do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, topic recommendations, and most importantly, guest speaker suggestions either through our social media platforms, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. 4 as in digit 4 and you as letter U. And let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life, but also your career. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the future holds great things because the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. And I wish you all live a stress free life. Bye bye.